Well, good evening, guys. Good to have you with us tonight on a Monday night as we come to talk a little bit about University of Georgia football news. Now, before I get snippy comments from some of you guys, this is not an Alabama hat. This is an Atlanta Braves hat, and you see the Georgia logo there, over there. And yeah. Actually, I picked this up at the clubhouse store at SunTrust Park. Isn't that what they call it now? Yeah, Truist Park, up in Atlanta where the Braves play. I was up there and went into the Braves clubhouse store, and they had the Atlanta Braves hat with there you go, the UGA. They have college night at Truist Park during the season, and they have different colleges and can come and represent their college at a home game of the Atlanta Braves. And of course, they had a UGA, Georgia night, and this is a hat from that. So now you can tell the difference between an Atlanta Braves A and an Alabama A. The Alabama A has a mullet coming off of it, and the Atlanta Braves A is a little different. If you're a guy, you have favorite hats. And this is one of my favorite hats. This kind of fits the noggin just right. It makes me look exceptionally handsome. And, and so I grabbed it tonight as we were coming on our program. Good to have you with us on a Monday night. Hope you had a good and blessed day today. Boy, in South Georgia where we are, this morning it was cool. I mean, it was really like coolish this morning. But then around noontime, the temperature really begins to go up, and everything is blooming and budding. And if you're inclined to have sinuses, such as yours truly, boy, this is a tough time of the year. But we're gonna make it. But everything is, and the pollen is everywhere, all over the windshield of the car, all over your cars. But we love the springtime of the year, and it means spring football is coming up, and we'll talk a little bit about the spring practices that are underway now for the University of Georgia and the spring game that's coming up a little later on in the month of April. We'll be talking about that a little bit. Hey, if you have a comment you want to share with us on Facebook or Instagram, hey, Instagram people, how are you? Just zip us your comment or question. And we have a stack of stuff here we want to talk about quickly tonight, having to do with the University of Georgia football. Not to be a name dropper, but I had a lengthy conversation today with a Pro Football Hall of Famer and a College Football Hall of Famer. Yes, yeah, we had a good. Well, there were others on the call as well, but had a good conversation today. We'll talk about that some other time. So let's talk a little bit about Georgia football. Of course, right now we're into spring practice. I think Missouri has already concluded. The University of Missouri has already concluded their spring practices, and in fact, they had their spring game. If I remember correctly, they had their spring game this past. Hey, Joyce, how you doing? Their spring game this past Saturday. JT Daniels was there, and he was he was there. Well, we're not gonna. Okay, we're gonna. There we go. See, I don't. Yeah, why do we do? What in the world? Okay. Anyway, let's say yeah, we're technicalities. We deal with technicalities. Okay. Well, let's get into some of our stuff we have here to talk about with the University of Georgia. I get distracted easily with this technological stuff. Our producers collected several things and just some things we want to run over just to give you a little taste of UGA football news. Prior to the 2021 college football season, there was a mantra among the players returning for this past season from the University of Georgia. And the mantra, the hashtag that many of them would include on their post would be, and I quote, unfinished business. The Georgia players felt like they were on the brink of, getting into the playoffs and the national championship in the 2020 season. And so they felt like the 2021 season, they wanted to their hashtag was unfinished business. Well, they finished the business, of course, winning the national championship against Alabama, which we cannot say it, too much. But what about the coming season? What about the 2022 season? Well, there's been some talk among the players, and as you interview the players for this upcoming season for the University of Georgia, something kind of interesting is coming out. It's not unfinished business; it's doing it again. It's not. They're not talking about the unfinished business in 2022. They're talking about, hey, let's do it again. Returning senior Nolan Smith. This is what he said prior to one of the spring practices, spring practice sessions. He says, "We're not defending a title. We're trying to go win another one." And so I like that. And, Kirby Smart has repeated a similar thing. So if you're wondering where the mindset is for the University of Georgia, for the players for the University of Georgia going into next season, they're not talking about defending their title. We'll do that. We'll do enough of that. Fans and, media sources will do enough of that. The players are saying, we're not defending a title. We're going to do it again. I like that. I like that attitude. Some other news we have: John Fitzpatrick, one of our tight ends for the University of Georgia. It was revealed after the season. Now, this is a tough dude. I mean, this is a tough dude. John Fitzpatrick played more than half of last season with broken bones in his feet that required postseason surgery. He's going to miss spring practice and not going to be involved in spring practices and in the spring game. And so it was revealed that John Fitzpatrick, one of our tight ends, played half the season with broken bones in his feet and had to have surgery after the season to repair those broken bones. Kirby Smart said Fitzpatrick probably needed surgery halfway through the year, but he chose not to have that. Oh, yeah, he did opt for the NFL. So I'm sorry, Fitzpatrick not coming back. But the Kirby Smart said he wanted to play out the year. He has opted for the NFL draft. So John Fitzpatrick played half the season with broken bones in his feet. Now that's tough. That's a tough football player. Can you imagine the pain that he went through? Obviously, in the feet, running around and bouncing around and jumping around, and the pain that he had to go through. So, our kudos to John Fitzpatrick. We hope he is a high draft choice among the NFL teams. Some other stuff, as we mentioned, the Missouri Tigers hosted former Georgia starter JT Daniels this past weekend at their spring game, which concluded their spring practices. Missouri coach Eli Drinkwitz was the first coach to contact Daniels after he said he was going into the transfer portal. Daniels recently also visited Oregon State. West Virginia and Notre Dame have also been mentioned as possible destinations for JT Daniels. I think just in the last hour or so, we saw a report where JT has whittled down his choices to between Missouri, West Virginia, and Oregon State, and a decision should be coming soon. Here's the plans for JT Daniels. He plans to finish the spring semester at the University of Georgia and then enroll at his next school as a graduate transfer. So he's finishing up the spring semester, and then he'll announce his decision. He'll transfer as a graduate transfer. So, we wish the best of luck to JT Daniels. Don't go to Missouri, though. Georgia plays Missouri. Don't go to Missouri. Oregon State sounds like a good destination. Yeah, JT's a West Coast guy anyway, so let him go to Oregon State. That would be my advice. This past weekend was a big weekend as far as recruits coming to Athens. Highly coveted quarterback recruit Arch Manning made an unofficial visit to Georgia this past weekend. Had a good time, from what we understand. Was feted as he should have been as he came to the campus of the University of Georgia. And Arch Manning on campus this past weekend, as well as some other highly prized recruits. It was a big recruiting weekend. The Louisiana native is the number one overall player in the 2023 recruiting class, according to 247 Sports composite rankings. Four schools have emerged as the strongest contenders to sign Arch Manning. That's Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Texas. Now, it seems like Ole Miss has kind of faded away from the choices of Arch Manning. And On3.com has its prediction machine. And here's what they are predicting at the moment. On3.com, they're saying that Alabama right now has a 39% chance to sign Arch Manning, followed by Texas at 34%. They give Georgia a 15% chance of signing Arch Manning. So according to On3.com, the leader for Arch Manning at the moment is Alabama. However, the several writers have said, well, that might you can guess at it in that way, but it does appear as if Arch Manning is very interested in the University of Georgia, and no decision has been made as of yet. So, also, there was, let's see, a 2024 signal caller, Dylan Raioli. He's out from, he was in California and in Texas, and now he's the number one ranked recruit now in 2024, according to 247 Sports. He was on campus this weekend as well. Arch Manning, 2023 recruit, and 2024 recruit Dylan Raioli for Georgia were both on campus this past weekend. Highly coveted recruits. Kirby Smart is going after both of these guys. He wants them both, Arch Manning and Dylan Raioli. And it might be good that he goes after both of these guys, because it was announced today Nico Amaliva. He's a quarterback from California. He is the 2023 recruit in the same class with Arch Manning. He announced today that he's signing with the Tennessee Volunteers. And so he's off the board for the University of Georgia. Nico Amaliva. He's from, California. Arizona and California or something like that, or Arizona and Texas. Anyway, Nico Amaliva is signed. Oh, he's from Long Beach, California. I got you. So Nico Amaliva, a big recruit for the 2023 cycle, just right there with Arch Manning. He is signing with Tennessee, or he made a commitment today to Tennessee. And there was an interesting note in the package about his commitment. Tennessee, Georgia was on his list. Georgia was on, the Amaliva's list of top 5 schools, but really Tennessee beat out Oregon to land the services of Amaliva. And here's interesting comment in the package about this signing. It is believed that Tennessee's attractive NIL opportunities played a key part in landing the talented quarterback. That's a fact of life now in recruiting. Apparently, a big NIL, name, image, and likeness package for Nico Amaliva. So it's compensation, it's money, and that was very attractive. And apparently, they put together a pretty good package for him. That's the way it is in college football these days. Arch Manning, his NIL deal is probably going to be multi-million, worth multi-millions of dollars. So, we'll see how that goes. The Athletic is a pretty good resource for sports. They put out their list of top 10 coaches. Actually, Bruce Feldman and Stuart Mandel. These are two quality writers for the Athletic. They put up their list of top 10 coaches, top 10 college coaches recently. It kind of interesting list. Guess who's number one on each one of their list? Obviously, Nick Saban is number one. Also, Dabo Sweeney is number two on both of their list of the top 10 coaches in college football. So you have Nick Saban, Dabo Sweeney. And on each one of the lists, you have Kirby Smart is number three. So Kirby Smart, according to Feldman and Mandel, is the third best college football coach in America. And then you have Feldman goes with Ryan Day from Ohio State as number four. And Mandel goes with Brian Kelly. LSU is number four. And they kind of flip-flop that. Ryan Day, Brian Kelly, they kind of flip-flop that. Then they have Lincoln Riley and some others. Kind of interesting. Georgia has a new head basketball coach. Boy, I tell you, I've been watching some of the NCAA, the big dance. Man, there have been some good basketball games. That thing between North Carolina and Baylor, that game, that was just amazing, that game. Some great, if you love college basketball, of course, this is your deal. You're digging it right now. This is your deal. And if you did the bracket thing, the bracket challenge thing, who was that guy who's going to give what, $10 million to anybody who gets a perfect bracket? Never will happen, never will happen. But if you had the bracket thing, there's no bracket even close. There have been so many upsets, but it's been great. It's been great. And I was sitting there the other night. I was watching, what is it, St. Peter's? Yeah, it's St. Peter's who upset Kentucky in basketball. And I'm sitting there thinking, now St. Peter's is a small school, just a very, few thousand students in New York somewhere, just a very small school. Quality basketball team. They beat Kentucky, for heaven's sakes, and they've advanced to the Sweet 16. Quality basketball program. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, saying to myself, look, here's this small school, in the middle of nowhere. Well, not in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of New York City. They don't have one player on the team that was ranked coming out of high school. Not one player on their basketball team that was ranked coming out of high school. All unranked as far as, they're the 50th player or something like that. And yeah, they knocked off Kentucky, who had all these number one, number twos, number threes, number fours, whatever, and getting the best out of the portal. And St. Peter's knocks Kentucky off, and they've advanced to the Sweet 16. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I said to myself, how come Georgia can't get those players? I mean, with all of the players in the country, how come Georgia can't get those players? Let's get those basketball players. Let's get into this NCAA thing. When was the last time Georgia made it as a basketball team to the NCAA tournament? I mean, come on. So anyway, Georgia has hired Mike White to be the next basketball coach. The Bulldogs fired Tom Crean, who served, at Georgia for, I don't know how many years, 6 years or something, 4 seasons at Georgia. And anyway, Georgia has hired Mike White, who was the head basketball coach rather at Florida. He was at Florida, Mike White, and Georgia goes and hires this dude from the University of Georgia as Georgia's head coach. So we poached the head coach from the Florida Gators. Now, from what I can read, a lot of people in Gator Nation were ready for Mike White to go. I mean, he had a great record at Florida. He won 142 games at Florida and lost 88. Went to the NCAA tournament 4 times. I mean, Georgia would take that in a heartbeat. And apparently they did. So Mike White is the new head basketball coach at the University of Georgia. The Bulldogs have not made the NCAA tournament since 2015. So Georgia has a new basketball coach, and I'm fully confident that our fortunes will turn around in college basketball. Corey kind of chimes in here. Smart will have to beat Saban consistently. Then and only then will we see a turn in the perception of sports media. It will come. I agree with you there, Big Man. I certainly agree with you. Um, 2015. Thank you, Corey. Yeah, 2015, the last time Georgia made the NCAA tournament in basketball. Our baseball team's doing pretty good. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, SEC spring football. The SEC game or the G Day game will be Saturday, April 16th at 1 p.m. on ESPN2. It'll be televised on ESPN2. Joe Tessitore, Greg McElroy, and Katie George will be manning the broadcast for ESPN. That's Saturday, April 16th, which is the Saturday before Easter, if I remember correctly. And so that's when Georgia's G Day game. Practices are going on now. They practice Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and they have 14 practices, and then the 15th practice is the G Day game. So there you go. Missouri's already had their spring game. Kentucky's is coming up Saturday, April 9th. Florida's is Thursday, April 14th at 7:30 p.m. Then on April 16th, you got Arkansas, Mississippi State, Georgia, Vanderbilt. Alabama's A-Day game will be at 3 o'clock on Saturday, April 16th. It'll be on the SEC Network and ESPN+. South Carolina will be that night at 7 p.m. Ole Miss, the Grove Bowl, Saturday, April 23rd. LSU, the National L Club Spring Game, also Saturday, April the 23rd. So, spring game. Man, I'm ready. And then the USFL begins a couple of days or the next week following that. Yeah, the new pro football league. There you go. Let's see, Jake Fromm. We love Jake Fromm. He has been cut by the New York Giants. In November of 2021, Fromm was signed by the Giants from their practice squad after an injury to starting quarterback Daniel Jones. Fromm played a couple of games, threw a touchdown pass, but he has now been cut. And so he's a free agent. Jake Fromm, a free agent now in the NFL, looking for a team to play for. By the way, if you're an Atlanta sports fan, see my G, if you're an Atlanta sports fan, you're thinking, what's going on? I mean, Freddie Freeman now has signed from the Atlanta Braves. He's a Dodger. Could have signed with the Braves. Could have signed. Very disappointed in Freddie. But, we're not going to get into that. So Freddie Freeman no longer with the Braves. He's with the Dodgers. Matt Ryan, starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons for the last 200 years. Well, not quite that, but anyway, was traded today to the Indianapolis Colts for a third-round draft choice. A third-round draft choice. Matt Ryan, traded today to the Indianapolis Colts for a third-round draft choice, and then the Falcons turned around and signed Marcus Mariota to, as a quarterback for the Falcons. So the assumption is Marcus Mariota will now be the starter for the Atlanta Falcons. Some people are happy about it. Some people are not. So, you have two sports icons out of the Atlanta sports scene, boom, gone, like within the last 7 days. Freddie Freeman from the Braves, Matt Ryan from the Falcons. And some people say, well, good riddance, and let's see what Corey's got to say. Corey said, yeah. I hope Jake gets a chance. Jake Fromm. He's a good guy. I hope he gets a chance to play. Just give him a chance. Let's see. Someone asked when Georgia begins its football season. The 2022 season begins Saturday, September 3rd, as the Bulldogs will be taking on the Oregon Ducks, coached by Dan Lanning. And that's, that'll be the opening season or opening game rather for the University of Georgia. Somebody asked me when are the Georgia Bulldogs going to visit the White House? Usually, generally, when a team wins a championship in whatever sport they win a championship in, somewhere down the line they get invited to the White House. Well, so far there's no word on an invitation being extended to the University of Georgia. Um, our president and the administration's pretty busy at the moment with some very important things, obviously. Um, Alabama did not go last year, but that was because of COVID protocols. It is assumed that somewhere down the line, if things in the world settle down, and we are praying for that to be the case, that Georgia will have the opportunity. The football team will have the opportunity to go to the White House. So, yeah, but we'll keep an eye on it. The Gators' Florida quarterback Emory Jones has entered the transfer portal. It's kind of interesting. 72 hours earlier, he was telling the media and everybody how great Billy Napier was and the new staff was, and how he looked forward to competing for a starting job against Richardson down in Florida. And 72 hours later, he says, nope, I'm out of here. So Emory Jones has entered the transfer portal. He's a redshirt junior. Well, he was a redshirt junior last year. I guess he'd be a senior. Yeah, redshirt senior coming up. Yeah, he's up and down. Emory Jones, talented guy, but not having didn't have a really great year. So Emory Jones is in the transfer portal. A Georgia offensive lineman, Cedric Van Pran. Kind of an interesting thing, you know? Coaches get onto their players. It's a thing. It's what happens. It's just a part of, you see the coaches get all over the players. Well, apparently Cedric Van Pran kind of turned the tables a little bit at the first spring practice, and he got all over the coaches. Well, hello. Well, I'm sure it was not. I'm sure it was a tempered thing. He was upset. And what he was upset with or about is this. He said, when we were doing spring football, started spring practice, it really upset me that the national championship logo was still on the field. He said that honestly upset me. And I spoke out about it to a couple of coaches. In other words, according to Van Pran, the mood of the team is it's over. It's done with. We've celebrated for a month and a half. It's over with. It's time to move forward to the next season. You go, man. Cedric Van Pran. Kind of got on the coaches a little bit. What is that championship logo doing on the field? That was last season. That is so over. That is so 2021. We're moving forward. So, I like the mentality of the team. Great leadership on the team. Georgia's team, this year may not be as talented in some areas, but they will have great leadership again among the players and the coaches, obviously. Georgia's in good hands. But man, the competition is going to be tough. Woo! Alabama's tough. And, Tennessee's going to be a lot better. And South Carolina's on the rise. And Florida, Billy Napier is a good coach. So, you expect a bump with Florida. Kentucky has manned up and is a good program. So, it's going to be tough. But the most talented team in the SEC East is the University of Georgia. There's no doubt about that when you look at the roster. Now, how does that translate on the field? We're going to have to wait and see, but I'm very optimistic that Georgia will have another great season. And it's hard to repeat as national champions. The last team to do that was Alabama. But if Alabama did it, Georgia can do it. So there you go. So I'm looking forward to the season. The baseball, by the way, we're going to have an interview with an All-American gymnast on our program, today's Sports Report. And that's coming up very soon. And Tatiana Marsh, who is an All-American triple jumper the triple jump and the long jump for the University of Georgia. We're going to have an interview with her, talk to her about, the track and field team at the University of Georgia and what's happening with her. I'm looking very much forward to it. Tatiana Marsh, who is a All-American at the University of Georgia in track and field. Cool. Top 25 teams in baseball. Vanderbilt's number 1, Ole Miss number 2, Texas 3, Arkansas 4, Tennessee 5, followed by Oregon State, Florida, Virginia, Arizona, Florida State, Texas Tech, North Carolina, Oklahoma State, and Georgia is ranked the number 14th, or the number 14 team in the latest top 25 poll of college football, or baseball teams, rather. Notre Dame is number 15, Georgia Tech number 16. So in fact, I watched a little bit of Georgia and Mississippi State yesterday, closing out that 3-game set in which Georgia won the first 2 games. Mississippi State, the defending national champions. Georgia lost yesterday, but Georgia has a good team. So, I was thinking the same thing. And somebody at ESPN apparently was thinking along lines with me. What if there was a 64-team playoff in college football? Now that, there's 64 teams going to the big dance in basketball, 64 teams in the playoff in NCAA basketball. What if you had that same thing in college football, a 64-team playoff in college football? Well, Chris Lowe from ESPN had a lot of time on his hands. I don't know if this was an assignment that he was given, by the brass at ESPN, hey, go figure this out, or if he did it on his own. But he did a 64-team football bracket. Now, obviously computer helped and all that kind of stuff. And so he imagined 64 teams in the college football playoffs. Georgia was given the number 1 seed in his projections. If there was a 64-team playoff in college football, he ranked Georgia the number 1 seed in the East region. And so here's how he imagined, or I guess the computer or whatever the thing is he uses, how the tournament went if you had 64 teams in college, the college football playoffs. According to Chris Lowe, Georgia, this is all imaginary. This is an imaginary land. Georgia in the first game played Syracuse. Georgia, the number 1 seed in the East, Syracuse, the number 16 team, and Georgia wins 35-10. Okay. And Georgia advances to the second round. And then they play Houston in the second round. Georgia wins 24-16. Okay. Georgia then advances to the third round. And they beat Miami. Georgia beats Miami 37-20 in the third round. All in the, imaginary world of Chris Lowe. And then Georgia advances and plays to be in the Final Four. And he has Georgia losing to Texas A&M 24-23. Even has, a scenario of what would happen in the game. So according to Chris Lowe, Georgia is the number 1 seed in the East region if you had 64 teams in a college football playoff, but Georgia would not make it to the Final Four. So, whatever. But it kind of interesting. Can you imagine? You had 64 teams in the playoffs in college football. As we mentioned earlier, the Atlanta Falcons today traded franchise quarterback Matt Ryan to the Colts for a 3rd-round pick. Ryan was with the Falcons for 14 years. Started 222 of Atlanta's 225 regular season games since the Falcons drafted him 3rd overall in 2008. Here's the deal. Ryan was due a $7.5 million roster bonus if he was on the roster at 4 p.m. today. Ryan turns 37 on May 17th. He was under contract with the team through 2023, getting paid gazillions of dollars, I'm sure. Anyway, the Falcons said, no, Yeah, Matt, we love you. We appreciate all you've done for us, but it's time for, us to go one way and you go the other. Now, Matt Ryan is a quality quarterback, good quality quarterback, good quality guy. Had an awful offensive line trying to give him some kind of protection last year. And you kind of felt sorry for Matt. He took a beating the last 2 or 3 years. That offensive line for the Atlanta Falcons, no matter how they tried to fix it, it was terrible. Just to quote Charles Barkley, it was terrible. But Matt, now 37 years of age, he has been traded to the Indianapolis Colts. And again, the Falcons have signed Marcus Mariota. And apparently he is now the new starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. So Matt's a good guy, good quality guy, top shelf quality character guy. So you wish him the best of luck. So there you go. That's the latest in some of the things happening with the University of Georgia. We're keeping an eye on all the spring drills. And we got all kind of stories we could read to you about this player's doing this and he's looking great and all that kind of stuff. Listen, they all look great. They're doing good. They're getting ready. G-Day games coming up. We're excited about that. Can't wait to see a little football action on the field for the University of Georgia. It will be a celebration, indeed, of the national championship coming up on April the 16th. Well, this is Chris Hall. Good to have you along with us tonight as we've jumped in here and we've talked a little bit about University of Georgia football and more. Be sure to join us again next time. Until then, we'll see you. And as always,